Thought for the day. I can't help but think recently, especially after having seen so many people's, I guess you could call them warped testimonies about what happened to them in the WCG, the offshoots, the Hebrew Roots movement, or anything else this thing has affected. It's just horrible. And I am happy to be able to put somewhat of a smiling face on it. But for real, I know people who just don't trust anything at all anymore, or who are prone to be sucked into other cultish practices, myself included. And the trust thing, I don't mean like the comment, oh, I don't trust anybody. No, I literally mean everybody's an enemy. Don't look surprised. It's the monster you created under the guise of Christian love. One of this guy's favorite concepts. And I think Jesus would overturn the tables, these money changers.
Of course you know what time it is. Thought for the day! Since I have started my content in September, I have had countless people reach out to me. When I say countless, it's really in the realm of like 20 to 40, but I just honestly don't know anymore. And one thing I have noticed is a lot of similarities between us. A rebellious nature, residual mental problems, supreme fastidiousness, and hypervigilance. All those are notably for people who had been born into it. I have noticed a difference between people who were born into it and people who chose to enter. A lot of the issues plague the ones born into it, not as much the others. It's still there, but just not as much. The way we talk. When I met apostate Sister Nancy, I noted this particularly. She would move her hands certain ways that I did. And anger!
Thought for the day. I had a really fun thought yesterday, and that was really cool. We ex-cult people are in a group chat, and I shared it with them as well. I never realized it until just yesterday that there isn't a single Christian ism out there that defines me. Am I annihilationist? Kind of. Am I universalist? Kind of. Am I dispensationalist? Kind of. Am I Protestant? Kind of. Am I mainstream? No. And believe me, I checked. There isn't a single one. Am I Trinitarian? Not really. Am I Binitarian? Not really. Am I Unitarian? No, not really. So for me to actually explain what I believe and why I believe it, I have to explain it. I can't really define it just with a simple ism. And Christianity is full of isms. Thought for the day.
Yesterday I found out a relatively heartwarming bit of information. David Pax RCG, as of March of this year, has only 1,248 official members. So that's both good and bad. It's good that a lot of people have left. A lot of them did join splinter groups, but just honestly speaking, the RCG is the most extreme. The PCG is a close second, but honestly, in my opinion, RCG is the worst. And the bad news? There's still 1,248 plain followers. I have a heart for them. I do. But I also know very well how that mindset can be. It traps you in. The fewer the membership, the more righteous people feel. The more the criticism, the more the feeling of persecution. But I want this to be clear. Which regular member have I named? They can believe and give money to whom they want. Thought for the day.
I just got done with work, and let me tell you, I am totally taking the day off tomorrow. So yesterday my therapist was talking to me more directly about various things that happened when I was in the cult. And it was hard for me to pinpoint singular memories of really big incidents. Although since that therapy visit, I have thought of some. We're getting into EMDR, so we'll see how this goes. But it was very interesting to me that the more overt religious trauma experiences that I've experienced were in fundamentalist churches and not this cult. But I was asked for photos of myself today because of some interview that's coming out, and I saw stuff. But then there were also later ones. Who sits like that?
And this isn't the only photo that I'm like that either.
Yeah.
Wonder where I got it from.
Thought for the day.
So, with the whole wonderful Bible study that I was in on Sunday, I couldn't help but think to myself, and this has been a thought recently, I shouldn't be Christian. I mean, if we were to look at the institution known as Christianity, there is really no reason for me to stay, especially within very many pockets within the United States. And that's just my home country. Oh, and you want to know something else? I'm not Christian today because of anything one person said. Yes, I have heard sermons that were very impactful, and not one of those sermons had a condemning tone. In fact, the sermon that ultimately led to me making a vow and growing my hair long was given by someone who was terrified of what he was saying. And not because it wasn't biblical, it was because of the repercussions. Because, the American Christian church is just so full of love. Thought for the day. So I've been encountering a lot of legalism recently, from different areas, and on different topics. So I pose a rhetorical question. Out of all the laws that were given in the Torah, I'm not talking about the Talmud, I'm talking about the Torah. Out of all those laws, which ones are Christians supposed to do today? Because I can guarantee almost every single one has arguments against it. Except for one. One. That's a hint. One. Which one? Yes, there are traditions, there are things that Christians typically do, but which law? And to say that whatever practices one does beyond that one is law is legalism. All of it.
Thought for the day. You know what's funny? It was exactly a year ago when I started to honestly consider making content about the Worldwide Church of God and biblical weaponization. And exactly a year later, here I am getting into some of the stuff that is really controversial. I can't imagine where I'll be taking Christian dominionism and Christian nationalism. One step at a time. One step at a time. But yes, I'm going there. I'm going all the way. And, not to mention, tomorrow I'm gonna be gone for 4 days. Because I do have a life, surprisingly. I'll continue to make videos for today and potentially a little bit tomorrow, but then I'm gone. Bye! Maybe I should find a Church of God while I'm out. And the last time I had a hiatus where I didn't post content at all was not under very good circumstances. But I'll definitely be ready for more apostasy when I return. Thought for the day. I have to use this picture. It's so beautiful. And seeing it in person was amazing. But recently I have been encountering more than one individual talking about how Christians who submit to the Lord should stay silent. To not divert from the general mantra. If you think differently, then just be silent. Imagine if all the biblical characters were silent. Any of the prophets. I'm sure Jesus, when he came, was like, keep doing what you're doing. Paul, Peter, John, David, Joshua, Moses and Aaron, Rahab, Ruth, Esther. Yeah, they all stayed silent and did nothing. They never messed with the status quo. Thought for the day. The reason I left the Armstrongist cult was not because I disagreed with the Armstrongist cult. If various factors were not in play for me to have left the cult, I might still be in it. So it's for that reason that I have a lot of respect for those who are still in it. I know very well what that thinking is like. Thinking that following rules would earn me God's favor. I know that the general mantra is slightly nuanced, but that's what it was. Our works were what made us right with God. We said that works were because we were compelled to, but really it was legalism. But the cult has also taught me a lot. Certainly taught me a lot about what not to do, but it also equipped me for doing content like this. Am I grateful I was in a cult? No, but I'm grateful for what I learned.